I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to say that this entire sequence of events with Gojo and just him finding a sense of like tranquility and enlightenment isn't just straight up a beautiful segment of this episode. Easily one of my favorite scenes of the entire anime of Jujutsu Kaisen. And this line that he delivers right here, throughout the heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, is such a cold line, but at the same time, from my understanding, this is a representation of Buddha itself. And the very lighting, the way this whole scene, the atmosphere is given, is to show that Gojo is high in the heavens. He is, beyond the normal means of man. It's a very symbolic sequence of events, and the very camera angle panning around him with the pillars around him, the light shining down from above, as you can see here, is just a moment to really just set in that Gojo has ascended as a character. He no longer is the regular person he once was. He's much greater than he was. It's a very great moment, and this is a moment that me and many others have been looking forward to getting animated for years now, honestly. It is literally exciting to finally get to see this, and obviously thanks to this, the series was trending yesterday. Everybody was talking about this episode. People were excited, but also there was people that were against it. And let's talk about that, because as I said, I think that this is an amazing episode. I will truly go on record and say that I love everything about this episode. It's not perfect. If I want to dive into the nitty-gritty, obviously I'll find problems, but, overall, I think that just, like, the way this episode is presented, like, to just even movement, like this right here, there's just a lot of things in this episode. There's just a lot of high-octane movement that looks just really good, and I think that, once again, this is on par with what JJK has just given us constantly, time and time again, and obviously with back-to-back bangers, with just gorgeous art animation with all these different episodes, it will start to feel like maybe it's just, the average, because we expect this. That's what people's overall impressions or opinions are at this point, because it's like when it comes to like JJK, or Demon Slayer, or Chainsaw Man, whatever series that Studio Mappa or Photable works on, people are like, they expect good animation. And a lot of people that watch this anime, they start thinking like, oh, all anime should look like this, all anime should be gorgeous, all anime should be great. That's an opinion that a lot of people have, because they've gotten very spoiled. Even myself included has gotten spoiled by just how beautiful anime can look if given time and care and attention to detail. But that gets into the point I want to talk about, which is this. So, I saw a lot of people complaining, and then I made a post yesterday, as you can see here, why are people complaining about the JJK episode? Because, as I already stated at the beginning of this video, amazing moment. It really just, everything about the scene really gives off a gorgeous vibe that really just, showcases the enlightenment of Gojo. And so I asked, and a bunch of people started giving me, like, answers, because apparently, there is a difference in the way it's presented. And Okay, let's just dive right headfirst into this, okay? So, I'm just gonna say what I normally say. When it comes to adapting a manga or a light novel into an anime, web novel, visual novel, whatever, there's not always going to be the exact same one-to-one. There's always going to be things that are going to be different. There's always going to be things that are going to be cut. That's just how it is. It's like, a good example of a series I've been reviewing a lot this season, Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei isn't perfect as an adaptation because it does have to cut things to be able to present it in an anime form. This goes for every form of media, not just, let's say, anime, but just movies in general, etc. There's often times where, someone say, just go read the books. Like, not like, a manga, but just go read a book, because obviously it will have all the details that you want. But obviously, when it comes to movement and format of just animation, it's not as simple as that. You can't add everything in from a manga or a light novel or a book, because it doesn't adapt properly in a movement-like setting. Now, obviously, manga and comics are in a different area, because obviously we have visual, design. We have, like, being able to see how it looks and all that, the original in the manga. And so when you see this, it's like, obviously, the anime should be the exact same. Like, when you think about just how the anime is, it literally should have the exact same poses and all that, because clearly the pose that Gojo is doing here is literally the pose he did here in the manga. But obviously the main scene to where he actually says the line here, which, I am the honored one, it is completely different from the manga. And so a lot of people are complaining about just the overall presentation of Gojo in the episode that came out yesterday. And so let's talk about this. Is this bad? Is the manga better? Is the anime worse? Is the anime better? Is the manga worse? There's a lot of things to talk about this. And obviously, as I just said, not everything's always going to be identical. There's always going to have to be liberties and changes, and when I look at the directing of this scene, and I think of just this panel in the manga, obviously this is a fan color, I believe. This isn't actually official, because it would be black and white, but when I think about just the way it's presented, obviously Studio Mappa and the team that worked on this, they wanted to give a tranquil and enlightenment vibe. Like, the very color palette behind Gojo presents that he is like a Buddha-like figure. He is literally a deity at this point. He is like God, and he is no longer a normal man. That is at least the way this scene is presented, to the whole tranquility with just getting to see nature and the water and all that stillness, calmness. It's a really interesting moment, and I think that the way the camera pans around and all that, around Gojo, kind of really just reinforces that very feeling. The directing of the scene just wanted you to feel that Gojo was a godlike entity. Now, when we look at this manga panel, obviously, with just this panel with context, yes, he's saying the exact same thing, but at the same time, it does give off a different vibe of more of cockiness. That Gojo has this cockiness vibe to him, which, yes, even in this, he's a little bit still cocky, but once again, the way it's presented in the anime just makes him look more at peace within himself. It definitely reiterates this when he starts talking about people that, he should be mad at this moment, or etc. He just talks about how he's very calm. So, when you think about just this, there is different vibes that the manga and anime give off, and I would say it comes down to your personal taste of what you want. Do you like the cockiness of Gojo, or do you want this tranquil vibe that, it just shows that he's like a Buddha-like figure? And people are obviously really crapping on the episode because, it's just, it's different. And this really goes to show, though, how spoiled people are for art and animation, and, they need everything one-to-one, and don't understand sometimes creators can take artistic liberties to change things around to do with their own vision, or just give more in line, because maybe, the author of JJK wanted it to be like this. Maybe he put his input, he's like, when I put this in the manga, I wasn't able to properly demonstrate or, showcase how I wanted this scene to be, and so do it like this in the anime. Sometimes, authors do that with the studios. And in this case, anime as a format is able to do a lot more things than a manga is able to do. Because, we gotta look at the visual here once again. I'm gonna pop up the visual. In a manga, it's still. It's just a color. It's it's a black and white panel if it's not colored, and it's just a still frame. That's it. And you have to kind of imagine in your own head how the character's moving, how their voice is conveyed to the audience. It's all left up to interpretation and imagination when it comes to manga, or books, reading books. And obviously, thanks to the anime format, it brings it to life. And this very scene brings JJK to life and gives more meaning to what that scene was really trying to present to its audience. So, personally, I understand why people will be upset if it's not identical. I get that. I do understand that. It is a valid feeling. But I feel like this is not a bad scene. There is nothing bad about it. Where people are complaining about a camera angle. That is the real reason people are upset about this. Is because the way the angle of Gojo's pose is in comparison to this. Which I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a problem. That's my personal takeaway on this. And I think it just really gets the message across of what, once again, this entire frame right here really just represents that. Like a man going up against a literal god, trying to attack a god that's in the sky way beyond his power. It's a very fascinating moment. So I don't know. I feel like people have gotten really just spoiled by the beauty of anime nowadays, and they need everything to be completely perfect, and I think that it's crazy that we have people complaining about JJK like this when I feel like there is nothing wrong about this episode. It's actually amazing. I personally think that the anime did it better. That's my takeaway on it. Obviously, feel free to disagree with me, but I think the anime did it better. And I think that the anime continues to expand upon the manga content, and personally, I think it's doing a lot better job. I don't know. That's just, once again, that's my personal take. I'm caught up with the manga, by the way. I know what's going on in the manga and all that. I feel like JJK is a really good anime, and it's done a very good job with handling everything. It's wild to me. But, yeah, I'll leave it at that. How do you feel? Do you think that this episode was actually bad because of, the change of camera angles, just let me know. I'm legitimately curious on how people feel about this, because I understand people being upset. I understand that. I do. I fully understand it. But I don't think it's warranted to say that JJK's bad now because of it. That seems so crazy to me. But anyways, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.